Okay, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to BWTM Sports Gaming. We have a special show tonight. I've called it This Is My Boxing. It's a feature where we'll be talking to trainers, boxing trainers, about how they go about their business in their kingdom, in their gym, what they do, what they think about boxing training, fitness, weightlifting, possibly if they're using weights, losing weight, a lot of topics that we'll be talking about. Tonight, we're talking to Andy Gill from Evolve Boxing Club. So we're talking to him. So he'll be coming up in a moment. So stay tuned. We'll be with you shortly. Don't go anywhere. I welcome back into the room, trainer from Evolve Boxing Club. And let me take him off the mic, Andy Gill. Andy, how you doing?
Hello, my brother. I'm good. Tired, but good.
It's good to have you back on the show yet.
Thank you very much. Thank you. It's an honor.
So for those people who don't know who you are, or just to refresh the memory, the gym, where are you at?
I'm in Amersham. We're in Corinium Industrial Estate. It's Evolve Boxing Academy is the amateur part of it, and Evolve Elite is the pro part of it. So I have got currently I've got not that they've been in the gym, but probably about 36 amateurs, potentially another 15 on top of that. And then I've got three of my amateur boxers who have been with me between 8 and 9 years turned over as pros. Jamie Smith and Lewis and Courtney. Jamie's had 2. Lewis and Courtney were waiting for their debut fights. They're twins. My son Patrick's turning over, so he's just done all the documentation, and we're just waiting for that to all go through. And I've got a young lady, Jules. She's one of my amateurs, and she's getting on in age, so she's seriously considering about going professional. So we're just bringing her into that professional sort of world. So she's done interviews and with the Goodwin Group, and she's doing some training with the pros, and we're just going to see how it pans out.
Okay, so let's talk about Andy Gill, the trainer, and let's talk about your journey as a boxing trainer, where you got your knowledge, who influenced you, and kind of what got you into the sport itself.
Well, the usual case. I got into boxing because of bullying, and I became a boxer. I went through, I was at 2 different clubs. Coaching was, I don't know, on a slightly different level back in them days. I'm not going to name names, but I had one coach who was very, I don't know, just, go and do this, go and do that. Didn't really give you time, didn't really look at the technical side of things. And then I had another coach who was a really lovely man, God rest his soul, who was a very fatherly figure, and he was he guided. So I think the way I box and the way I was taught was very, I call it 1950s. Get in the middle of the ring, stand there and just trade punches, and there was nothing else involved. There was no dietitian work. There was no strength and conditioning work. There was no worried about your sleep patterns. There was nothing about how much fluid you took on board. Getting professional gum shields made, making sure you wear the proper headgear, that you had, decent gloves for sparring. It was totally different. And I left boxing for a while. I fought as a youth, and then I went on to, when I was about 30, I fought as a senior, and I just thought, I can do this better. I can, I don't know. I'm the sort of character, no matter what I do in life, I look at every fine detail. Excuse me. I look at every fine detail. So I started working at different clubs. I worked at Hayes for a while with a pro boxer who was a friend of mine, two pro boxers actually who were friends of mine. And I watched what they done and how they done things, and I watched what the head coach there was doing. Then I was at Northrop for a little while, and I watched the way, Pat Wilson was there, Brian, and a couple of other people, and I just watched the way they done things. Then I was at St Albans, at High Wycombe, and I finished off at IQ. And I don't know, traveling around all these places, you kind of
pick up things, but then find your own way. I get that. I hear that.
You see a lot in boxing. So, and I'm not going to go deep into loads of things, but you see the way people talk to children. You see the way people are racist. You see the way certain people from certain backgrounds get treated. And you stand back and you think, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do this. I wouldn't do that. You see certain drills and you think, really, that doesn't make no sense to me. So what I started doing was I started adapting a sort of style. I didn't really watch anybody. There's no coach I've looked up to. I don't look at anybody and go, wow, like, what they do. And I see certain fighters, and probably the latest fighter that I probably watch is, I don't really watch the fighter. I watch his coach sometimes, and it sounds like I'm contradicting myself, but Canelo's coach.
I knew you were going to mention his name. I knew his name was going to come up. I knew
because he brings in the art of boxing is not actually the punching. The art of boxing is creating an opening. Anybody, you could go out on the streets and find someone and say, throw a punch. They're not going to do it perfectly, but they'll know how to do it. You go to someone, slip, roll, block, step, lean, take a half angle, take a quarter. They ain't going to have a clue, and that's the beauty of, for me, that's the beauty of the art is learn how to not to be hit. Yet another one that everybody calls out, like Mayweather. You think about that bloke and how old he is and how far he's got. Yes, he can be boring to watch and he's not exciting for the fans at times, but his level of skill is on another level, and Canelo's getting there, so for me, it's about, I started thinking to myself, right, I need, when I train people, it's about, not everybody's going to move the same, but movement is key for me. So foot movement, after foot movement, then it's all, rolling, slipping. Then after that, it's, quarter turns, half turns, stepping off, stepping in. Then after, then it's like using your hand blocks. And there's blocks that I've, seen. There's, like Jamie actually catches your jab in between his hand. He catches it. He catches the shot and stops you dead. So, I started teaching a lot of things about movement, and certain gyms didn't like it. You don't know what you're doing, and blah blah blah, and you got to let it all ride. You got to let it go, and you got to think to yourself. The proof is, I don't need to stand here and argue with anybody or prove what I'm doing is right. The proof is when any boy, any girl, any man, any woman who's trained under me gets in the ring, they will prove a point to everybody.
One of the things I love about talking to you is, like, I know you're a boxing trainer, and I've come from a slightly different background. There is so many parallels in the way you talk. Like, for example, I don't need to like ask you specific questions to know, for example, like when you were in all these gyms, you were able to see some things that were good, but there were a lot of things you saw that you disagreed with. And
Yes,
ultimately, on that journey, it led you to having your own gym. And because
yes,
of those disagreements, or because of those things that you thought you could do better, inside you burns a passion. You say, I can do this. I
yeah,
no longer need
yeah,
to be worrying about these people. I'm going to do it my way.
yeah,
And that's how the journey is created into becoming a trainer, a teacher, a coach. I can do it better, or I'm going to give it a shot to try and be better than what I've seen. The poor examples I've seen. I've seen so many trainers along the years who think the best way to get something out of a fighter is to degrade them, is to
yeah,
scream and
yeah.
shout at them, is to make them
Yeah, I've
feel
seen that.
embarrassed in front of the rest of the gym. You know, humiliate a fighter in front of the gym, members of the gym, or watch a fighter get pummeled on the ropes, and just the trainer just turns his back and walks away. I've seen stuff like that. I've also seen trainers working with their elite fighters, and a new young person comes in who wants to box, and they're working in the bag. They can go in the bag 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks working at the same bag, and the trainer won't batter an eyelid at them.
Yeah,
That's not right. That is
yeah,
not right. Oh, and then the
yeah.
trainer says, well, he needs to prove himself in my gym.
Well, do you know what the proof for me is walking into that gym, because it takes a lot of bravery to walk into any sort of gym. And I know you've been into my gym,
Yes,
and I've designed my gym a certain way, so when people walk in there, the first impression they get is, wow, this is a really nice place. The second
absolutely.
impression they get is, there's no big heads in my gym. There's no I ams. There's no I'm the top boy. There's no aggressors. We do all that in the ring, but the club itself would welcome anybody from any community, from any club. Would welcome anybody, and that is because it's installed into them from day one. You know, it's boxing's boxing to me is a lot about discipline. It's about respect, manners. Um, it's about learning the values of life. It's it's about a family, a foundation of family. And you can have your blood relatives at home. That's your family. I'm blessed that I've got a boxing family. So my gym is spotless, it's clean, it's well equipped, and everything is looked after, and everybody who walks in is welcomed. I
But
don't,
that, but that's a reflection of yourself, and because of what you've experienced from other
yeah, yeah,
short-sighted
yeah, yeah,
trainers,
yeah,
you thought, I'm never going to allow my gym to get itself into this state. I'm never
yeah,
going to allow myself to lower myself to standards to have to talk to people in a certain manner, in a certain way. I'm going to treat everybody with respect, the sort of respect I didn't get when I was walking through the gym.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
This
All
never
day long,
happens to me.
all day
Yeah, I
long.
get that.
Yeah,
I get that. I
yeah,
get that. I get that big time. I get that big time. Big time. And this thing about having your own ideologies or your own vision of how to do things, and you've got these old school people that tell you you can't do it this way, you can't do it that way. Teachers that have reached the ceiling but no longer can be taught.
um,
They, yeah. I mean,
yeah.
so
For me, coaching it's not about a form or style that you
mm,
adapt, and everybody in your camp does that style. And
no,
there's coaches I know, there's coaches there's coaches that
absolutely
we jointly know. They do
the
the same
same thing
thing with
over
everybody.
and over and over
So
again because that's
some
all
of
they
my
know.
people, certain diets work, certain diets don't. Some of them will have to drink different amounts of water compared to, Jamie might absorb 4 liters of water. He's 91 kilos. He's 6'4". He's a cruiserweight, so I can't expect then someone who's at lightweight or welterweight to take on 4 liters of water as well. And when they're only 5'5" and they weigh 63 kilos or they weigh 60 kilos. Same with style of fighting. You can't teach everybody the same thing. So I take everybody for their merit. So,
okay, all right. You say you can't do that, but you tell me what happens when you do that.
So Jamie's tall. He's got a long reach. So Jamie's most vital tool will be a jab, and he should be able to win a fight off a jab.
Jab alone.
Now Lewis is 5'4", shorter lad, shorter arms. Now if he's fighting, more likely he's going to be fighting people who are taller than him majority of the time. So I'm not taking a jab away from him, but his inside work will be a lot stronger than his long work. And a single jab won't work with him. He'll have to be a double, a treble, 4 jabs in a row. He won't, I'll teach him the single jab, but more time is like a triple jab. He'll push his opponent back, and then he can go down to the body. Once he gets to the body, he has to stay at the body, where Jamie wouldn't have to roll as much as Lewis will have to. So if I've got a single concept of boxing, then everybody's going to be taught the same thing.
So let's put this for people who are listening and trying to learn a bit more about the boxing science. So let's say if I used Jamie as an example, who's a tall, long-range, rangy guy. If I got him to negate that, take that away, and try to fight him, make him fight like a small man, what happens to Jamie?
The problem if he tries to fight like a small man is his height. So if he's trying to fight like a small man and he's fighting a smaller man, then he's going to end up in a lot of trouble, because he's trying to bring his head and everything down to the level of that person when he's on the inside. You wouldn't sit on the inside with your head above their shoulders. You'd sit with your head on their shoulders.
But Andy, there are a lot of pro fighters that actually do that, though.
There is, but it's if you watch how clinical they fight, how clean it is, the way they fight. It's there's a lot of chinks in the armor. They become more vulnerable.
Yep.
So and then if you get a really good short fight, like who was it? Canelo and
Callum Smith.
Yeah, that's it.
I thought you'd call that fight.
He's trying to get involved on the inside. And did you see how hard it is for him to then bring his body down?
Yes.
No matter how hard he tries to bring his body down, his head's still up in the air. And then Canelo can get them short leverage punches off. Where if he stands back and he goes long and he works that jab, there's more of a chance he's going to be able to set his backhand up. He might have to go on his back foot a little bit more, but there's more chance that he's going to set that backhand up and hit him with a straight backhand. The most devastating punches, jab and a straight backhand. So why not try and introduce them into that fight?
It's interesting. So I want to go back to that Canelo fight for a second, and Callum Smith. I've always said fighters fight for generally fighters fighting patterns. So like watching Callum Smith, I knew in the Callum Smith fight he fought John Ryder, and he had the very bad habit is when he's against the ropes, he just curls up in a ball and doesn't throw anything back. He doesn't counter punch. He sits in ropes and just absorbs punishment, waits until somebody stops throwing their punches, and then he takes a breather, he doesn't tie up, and then he goes.
Yeah.
So I said, well, that's how he fights. People are expecting suddenly on this fight, he's going to fight off the ropes and start fighting on the inside and tying up.
To be honest with you, for me, I thought Smith was, he had a good chance of doing it. If he should have stuck to his jab, and he should have worn him down with the jab.
Yeah, but as soon as you every time you press him.
I thought within their camp, maybe they would have tailored a little bit more of not sitting there and going into your shell with someone like with Canelo, is that you would have bring the fitness rate up, and then maybe use the jab a lot more effectively.
Let me throw this at you for a second. Now, I'm going to use a different sport, but I'm going to use the same analogy. Right? Yeah. Now, a guy who plays cricket, and he's a batsman, and he gets hit with a cork ball in his head, bang, gets hit with a cork ball, has to go to hospital, comes out. And every so often when he's playing cricket and he's batting, he's got a twitch. Every time he sees a ball, he's got a twitch. He panics. Yeah? Every time. No. So he's not the same player. He does that for his career. He meets good bowling, and every time it happens, the reaction, because of that mental, because he hasn't fixed that mental state, he's still in that state of fear and shock. He's for his rest of his career is like that. With Callum Smith, I always get when fighters do that, I always get the impression either they've had bad sparring sessions where they've been really beaten up on the ropes, and they've never been taught how to get off the ropes, how to slide off the ropes, how to tie up, how to spin off the ropes. And because I haven't learned that in the amateurs, and they've got beaten up like that on the ropes in the amateurs, when they get in the pro game and they've fought as a pro and they've had the easy fights, use the jab, bang well with the right hand, bang with the left up to the body, and they've had that, they've done that. As soon as they meet a guy that brings them back to those demons that they had as an amateur, you start seeing all those flaws come back again. So they're not working it on the gym. So when they meet a guy that actually presses them, the same demons come out again. Do you get that? Yeah.
No, I totally get it. It's I always say to my boxers, boxing is a circle, and in that circle, there is so many segments. You can't just learn to box one way. So fundamentally, all my amateurs, foot movement. So the total basics, they have to get their runs in. Even my amateurs, and they'll all tell you, I've got something called a wood way. They get tested every week on their fitness.
Yeah.
If they're not fit on that machine, their card gets put in the bottom of the pile.
Wow.
Until they prove that they're fit. Once they hit that test and they prove it, then that card gets moved up, and I will get them fights. But I'm very about eating correctly, drinking the right amount of fluid, doing your runs, doing all your groundwork at home. I don't want you to come into the gym and use it as a weight loss facility. I don't want you to come into the gym and use it as, it's a top up for fitness, but it's not the fitness. All the fitness should be done outside the gym, and the gym should be used for technical ability. Ability, technical learning, working in partners, doing your pad work, doing your stick work, maybe doing exercises that you can't do at home because you haven't got the right machinery or the right equipment, getting your skipping down. It's like when they skip for 10 minutes straight, no rest, even my juniors. And if we say sprint, they don't sprint, the ropes get put away, and they'll do 10 minutes of a circuit. Then we'll put them back on the ropes. And it's really funny how quick everybody gets the rhythm with it. Now, you or anybody else can come to my gym when we come out of COVID and watch the way the juniors, that they'll get in, they'll warm themselves up, they'll do all their explosive stretches, they'll do their skipping, they'll do their shadow boxing. There's coaches around, but we have hardly got to say anything. We just go around adjusting here, there, and everywhere.
Your mic is breaking up slightly.
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Okay.
Yeah. I'll put my headset in a minute. My phone's nearly charged. Cool. So it's so they learn all of that, and then they get on with it. They don't need the coach to waste time. Then from there, they will tell you, we do footwork drill after footwork drill after footwork drill. Then from the footwork drill, we'll start introducing the jab and defenses. So with the footwork drills, then we'll do stepping up, punching and stepping off, punching and leaning back, punching and taking angles, punching and rolling, blocking and punching, but all with the jab. And then we get the jab mastered, and all my coaches follow the same pattern. So I don't have Coach Mike who does one thing, Coach Tom who does something else, Coach Rob who does something else, Coach Andy does. We all do the same thing when it comes to the fundamentals. We're all on the same page. So I make that quite clear to all of my coaches that it's a set pattern. Once they learn to move, to do their throw their jab, throw their backhand, hands up high, elbows tucked in, how to absorb a body shot. Once they learn all of that stuff, then the coaches can do what they want with them. Because I know then if they get into trouble, the fundamentals will save them.
I want to go back to something. You talked about footwork. When I was out in the States training, I was training in one of Don King's gyms in Florida. And I remember my trainer at the time, he said to me, two things he said. He says, I only train 4 fighters maximum in my gym, 4 fighters, because I like to give my fighters the maximum attention. The second thing he said to me, he said, gave me a circle, like a circle but split in semicircles. He said to me, right, see that clock? Right. He says, half an hour. I said, do what? He says, in the semicircle, move one way for half an hour. He said, right, next half an hour, you move in the other semicircle. So it's one way and then the other. One way and then the other. One way and the other. He said to me, I said to him, this is almost an hour what I'm doing, just moving in a circle. What's the problem? He said to me, I don't care how hard you hit. I don't care how fast your hands are. If your feet can't move, you cannot get into range to throw shots. You cannot get yourself out of trouble. You cannot slide. You cannot move from left to right. You can't give lateral movement. You can't get into position and you can't get out of trouble. Right? Yeah. He said to me, your feet are your success. Your feet, because you can't throw punches off balance. You understand? You can't get power off balance. You know what I mean? So your feet is your foundation, and everything else.
Yeah, that's totally right. Totally right. You know, and I'm not saying that all my boxers are perfect because they're far from it. And it's like coaching. I've been probably coming up to 23 years now, maybe 23 years that I've been coaching. I learn every single day. I'm learning something else. And the same with my boxers. You know, when me and Jamie first started working together, he was a keep fitter. You know, and Jamie's only really worked under me. You know, he was working under a coach at Wickham, but for a very, very short amount of time. And then he ended up working with me. And then when I moved to St Albans, he come with me. And then when I left St Albans, I went to IQ, but the travel there was too far for him. So he stayed at St Albans for, I don't know, a matter of 4 months, 5 months. It wasn't long. And then he was back with me. So, you know, Jamie's always been around me. And it's, I've heard people say about him, he moves too much. I've had coaches say that about him. Oh, he moves too much. You know, for a cruiserweight, he should sit on his feet more. He should do this, do that. Jamie knocked 18 people out in his amateur record. You know, so he knew when to place his feet, but movement is you can't beat it. And if you can move really fast for 6 to 8 rounds, your fitness is incredible. And once you get used to fighting like that, you will maintain your fitness to keep fighting like that.
Yeah, but you know what? In the cruiserweight division, you really don't want to be holding your feet too long because you could get tagged yourself.
You get tagged, you know, he's all of them really. They've all got. Lewis is another one. Terrific footwork, terrific movement. He's 100 times the fighter he was before. 100 times. You know, Courtney's had improvements. Patrick, my son, when he come to me, I don't know, his footwork wasn't quite right. He was, you know, his defenses were down, and he moved backwards and forwards really clean. And he had a good lead hand hook, and I think he had a good body shot. So we fine tune them, but his footwork and his movement is sometimes he spars, and I tell him, I don't want you throwing anything. Just avoid the shots, and the other person doesn't even know, and he might be someone from another gym, and I'll say to him, just move, spoil, move, slip the shots, roll the shots, move. I don't want you throwing nothing. You know, Jamie will be sparring, and I'll say to him, you can only throw body shots. I don't want no jabs. I don't want no back. I don't want nothing, because people are scared to commit to the body shot because of being hit.
Yeah.
So, you know, if I take everything away and that's the only shot he's got, he will learn how to commit without being hit.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. That's what it's about.
Yeah.
So we talked about running. There's some fighters, pro fighters, that don't run. Your thoughts?
Don't run, yeah.
Hey, like Holyfield didn't do. They say he didn't do too much running out on the. But I've heard conflicting stories about.
I've heard Holyfield did run. Not. What I think what we all have to remember in boxing is they're not marathon runners.
Yeah,
they're
exactly.
They're running for a 3-minute round with a 1-minute break, but they're obviously training. It's like Jamie. Jamie's a 4-bout, and I keep going on about Jamie because he's the only pro that's been really out there for me, because everybody else got stuck with COVID. But he, you know, he's a 4-rounder. I trained him for 6 rounds. Now I'm training him for 8 rounds. So his next fight should be a 6-rounder, but he's already 8-round ready. Right. And as soon as he does the 6, then I start taking him to 10. So then he's 8-round ready. Then I'll go up to 12. Then he's 10-round ready. Yeah. So running, all I ask him to do. So at the moment, it's pointless pushing them too hard. So all I ask him to do at the moment is 2s or 3s twice a week and go and do a sprint. And then with the amateurs, I get them to do more sprints than I do long distance runs, because they got 3 rounds of either 2s or 3s, and an amateur will go 100 miles an hour.
Explosiveness.
You know, they're sprinters. The pros, they're more, they're long distance. Yeah, they're long distance fighters. So, you know, I'd expect them to do a little bit more mileage, but not, you know, me personally, the 3-mile run works. If you do 3-mile runs at 7-minute miles, so you know, it's 21 minutes. If you consistently hit 21 minutes for 3 miles, you will be shocked how fit you become and how many rounds you can do. And you've got to then think, on top of that running, they do the circuits, which is still fitness.
Your thing's breaking up again.
Is it? Sorry.
That's better. Good. That's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. Hold on. Let me plug in this headphone now, because I think my.
It's beautiful stuff there, Andy. I'm learning a lot tonight, and I think people that are listening are going to learn a lot from it as well, which is really good.
Well, yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear beautifully.
Yeah. It's, for me, it's not. You know, I wouldn't. Not everybody's going to agree with what I do, and I've got no problem with that. And I do change stuff, so I do listen to my boxers. My son is probably one of my critics. So if he thinks something doesn't feel right, if he comes and moans to me about, oh, I don't want to do this, I'm not interested. If he does it and there's an effect from it, and then I'll speak to Jamie, then I'll speak to Courtney, I'll speak to Lewis, you know, I'll get a story from all of them. And then if it's kind of all touching on the same subject, I think to myself, okay, we're doing a little bit too much there. We need to rein that in a little bit, you know, because as a coach, I can see all these things and I can come out with all these concoctions. But am I actually going through what they're going through? No, I'm not. So I have to listen to their bodies, you know, and some of them can run, you know, some of them can run for miles and miles and miles. Some of them can only run for a short amount of miles. Some of them could do circuits unbelievably quick. Some of them can't do circuits that quickly. Some of them are, you know, weak at circuits, but amazing when it comes to sparring. Some of them are really strong, really good runners. And when it comes to sparring, they're crap. But when it comes to fight night, they're totally different. So it's like it's a confusing concoction of feelings and emotions, and I have to tailor it, you know, to make sure it fits for them. They're not boxing stressful enough, and they don't need to stress out about, you know, how they're training, what runs they're doing, and how it's hurting, and they can't work and they can't take care of their children. And you know, you have to tailor for these, and you have to listen as a coach.
How does Andy Gill deal with a fighter that doesn't want to listen?
Bye. Simple. I give everybody a fair crack of the whip. If someone comes to me, I lay down the foundations of what I'm about. I will get them to spar. I will sit them down then and work out financially what I expect. I charge all my pros a real small fee, and if you spread it out over 4 weeks for the amount of training that they do, it's pennies. But I run a business, so I will sit down and explain that to them. So there's a fee involved. Then obviously, you know, when they fight, there's a fee involved. But if they constantly don't want to listen to what I'm saying and they constantly want to fight me, they shouldn't be with me, because obviously they're uncomfortable. So there's the door. Thank you, but no thank you.
Would you take a job on as a coach which paid you good money, and was in for money and kept you having a certain lifestyle? However, you A, wasn't up to the task, or B, you wasn't getting the results you wanted, or C, you were being disrespected?
What would I do?
Yeah.
Well, the disrespect part, it wouldn't be tolerated. If any of my fighters want to put me down or talk bad about me or do anything like that, or make a fool out of me on social media or anything like that, they won't be my fighter. Regarding taking on a job for money to keep a lifestyle, I don't do this for that reason. So that purpose would not ever cross my path, ever, because my judgment, my morals, my ethics are powerful. I do not bow down to anything for anybody. I could be asked by a world champion right this minute. I could have a world champion, any one of them, knock on my door and go, Andy, we've seen your gym, we've seen what you're about, we've heard about, you know, the interviews, we like what you're about, I want you to be my head coach. And the first thing I would have to say to him is, I'm honored and thank you, I respect that, but I don't feel I'm qualified enough. The only way I would do it is if you allow me to put a team of people together that could cover every angle. So I would lead that camp and I would be the head coach, but I would have people that I trust and that I believe in, who are specialists in them fields, that can be there to back me up.
How important is that, Andy? How important is that, not to let the ego get to your head where I'll do it, I can be head coach, I'm not qualified, but I'll be head coach and I'll go steaming in?
Right. Anything in life. So I'll put a different spin on this. So most coaches out there, I don't know. It's hard for me to say percentages, so I won't say percentages. But I'll just say from my background, I was a businessman. I had a building company. At times, I've had up to 12 people working under me. So the reason I had them 12 people is because I was not skilled at everything in the building game. So I'm not a top grade chippy. I'm not a top grade plasterer. I'm not a top grade brickie. I'm not a top grade roofer. Same as boxing. Most people haven't been in business, so they don't know how to run a team. My gym, even though the part of it's a charity, it's run as a team. There's a team of people there. Without my coaches, I can't spread the knowledge, you know, and every coach will have a strength and every coach will have a weakness, but I have to use the best of their abilities to help the club grow and help people grow. So with a head coach, you need a team. If you haven't got a team, and you should have a team from day one, soon as, you know, so say, yeah, I don't know, say Anthony Joshua phoned me up. He never would, but say he phoned me up and he said, Andy, I want you to be my head coach. And I'd say, no problem, Anthony, but I need a team behind me, you know, and we have to negotiate. So, you know, whatever money I get, we have to put a little bit more of a percentage on because I need this team of people around me. If you allow me to do that, then I know I'll put the best plan together for you.
And then when you're looking for a team, you would have people that you knew that were experienced enough to do the jobs that you wanted?
Yeah.
Off straight away, you wouldn't have to think twice about that.
No, I've got, you know, I'm not going to mention names, but there's people around me that I have faith in. You know, so I would have another coach with me who's been involved in the pro game maybe for a little while, who understands the politics of pro, not just boxing, but all the rubbish that goes with it, with promotions and management and money and and all the other nonsense. So I'd have a coach. You know, I'd have someone from you know, like promotional stuff that would be in my ear. That, you know, if I knew there was something not quite right or I wasn't quite happy, that I could ring them up and go, look, you know, this has been offered, that's been offered. What do you think? You know, for that level of fighter. You know, strength and conditioning. I think strength and conditioning is a funny old game, because I think most, you know, a boxing coach who can do strength and conditioning is worth his weight in gold. When you get a boxing coach and then you get a strength and conditioner who is just a strength and conditioner, who's not focused on boxing related strength and conditioning,
you've got a problem.
It can all go wrong.
The muscles have been trained differently.
Yeah, so you know, any strength and conditioning coach that's listening at the moment, I don't mean any disrespect, but boxing is a unique sport, and you use your body in a certain way, and the strength and conditioning should run alongside them movements, you know. And I see a lot of things, and I think, wow, and it's fads, you know. It's just someone trying to make an exercise look wowie. You know, is someone trying to, you know, use a brand new bit of equipment. And if you watch all these things, the old school way of things always seem to survive.
Absolutely. I say that what you're doing should simulate what you're going to do inside the ring.
Yeah.
If you're not practicing what you're doing in the ring, you can't prepare for what you're going to face in the ring. If you're spending all the time just doing and then you get in the ring where somebody's going to smack you right in the jaw, well, what's going to happen? You're not prepared for that.
Yeah. And it's like weights. So, you know, bodybuilding, you know, I see a lot of coaches doing bodybuilding movements where if I've got someone who's weak and I want to get them strong, I do compound movements. I don't have to do anything else. And it's proven. You know, Jamie wasn't the strongest lad. Jamie now is a powerful kid, but he could still move. So along with compound comes twitch muscle movements. So a lot of people will train the compound and forget about the twitch. Or, you know, they'll just train the twitch muscle and not get any, like, what is the word I'm looking for? Density in the muscle. And you're going to get density in the muscle by doing compound lifts. You know, you're going to get the twitch muscles working by doing bands, you know, explosive stuff. So I don't know. I get a lot of mixed messages when I watch certain things, but I can only go by what I've done with my boxers. You know, it's like my son. He is 66 kilos. He deadlifts 210, and he's got solid legs. He's not overweight. He can get down to 66 kilos without a problem. He's not he's not muscle bound. But when he sits on his shots, the power he generates is unbelievable for a kid of 66 kilos. Lewis and Courtney, the twins, they never do weights. They've just got that athletic way about them. So they don't need to do all that. Courtney might not run for 6 months. He'll get in the ring and do 8 rounds. It won't be a pretty 8 rounds, but he'll do the 8 rounds. Jamie was very long, lean, wiry, and we put him on compound lifts. He's done resistance training, and he's seen stuff and he's tried stuff and he hasn't worked. Bits have worked. He's watched other people and he's gone, Coach, could we try this? Yeah, why not? Let's try it. If that's if you've seen it and you think it's going to work, let's try it. We've got nothing to lose. And he'll do it and he'll think, oh no, you know what? I'm not quite getting the results.
Okay, let's go back to running. I was talking to you about earlier.
Yeah.
What do you prefer, the treadmill or the roads?
It depends on the treadmill. If you get a Woodway, I absolutely rate them 100%. A normal treadmill, you switch a treadmill on, it's got a motor that drives a band. You think you're doing 7 miles per hour, but you're probably only doing 5 and the motor's doing the rest. So it's road running is going to be the best because you can't simulate the weather on a running machine. You go out running in the freezing cold and see what it does to your lungs. You go running when it's pissing down with rain, and you're standing there thinking, I don't want to do this. Where with a running machine, it's just easy. Let's just get on it. But it's building that mental strength of running in the rain, running in the snow, running in the wind, running in the sun. It's building you. It's building you not just your cardio, but mentally it's building you. The Woodway is probably the machine I would recommend anybody to buy who wants to get high-end athletes.
So what is Woodway like? Describe the Woodway.
The Woodway is it's like an arch. It's got an arch. It's self-propelled. There's no electrics to it. There's no motors inside of it. It's a self-propelled belt, and the belt weighs 40 kilos. So the theory behind it is if from the knees down, it adds a bigger load to your calves and ankles and stuff like that. Now, I got Lewis, Courtney, Jamie, Pat, all ready for the Haringey Cup on that machine. That's the only running they done. And they were all doing 8 rounds, all of them, standing on their heads. And I still use the machine to date now. And the other machine I use for cardio is an air attack bike, which is another brilliant piece of equipment. But they don't need to be on these bits of equipment for a long time. We do sprints on the Woodway that last 12 seconds.
Okay.
So I do it in minute modules. So they run for 12, they rest for 48. They run for 12, they rest for 48. And as they get better, we add more and more runs in.
Okay, let's talk about weight loss. One of the common things you hear about is people using plastic bags over themselves for losing weight. Talk about it.
For sweat, I'm not a believer of sweatsuits, and the reason I'm not a believer of sweatsuits is because I don't know, what's your body? 80% fluid. You got fluid all around your body, and you got fluid between your skull and your brain. So when you put these sweatsuits on and you sweat and you sweat and you sweat and you're losing kilos and kilos and kilos of fluid, where is that fluid coming from?
Wow.
You don't know, do you? So, and we're all different as human beings. So we could have one boxer who's losing fluid from his body. We could have the next boxer losing fluid off his brain. And if you do that, how dangerous is it? All my boxers are should be within 2 kilos of their fight weight, all the time. We're in COVID, so it's a little bit different. I'm not going to go mental with people. We've been banged up for 12 months now. So, I'm not going to start screaming the odds out to any of my boxers. But when we come out of COVID, they need to be 2 kilos above their weight. They're never under. I always have them over. And then we tick along. Because every training session, my boys and girls will usually lose between 1 kilo to 2 kilos of weight every session.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Great. Thank you for that. So we talk about pad work. Let's talk about pad work. Fancy pad work. Aerobic pad work.
It has its place. I do defenses very quickly. So, all that blah, 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 blah. I do that. But I use it for defensive. So I use it for body shots. So I'll hit them in the body and they go blah, 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 with a reaction. So they don't have to think about it. So I've got a couple of body combinations. I've got a couple of head combinations. I've got some rolls in with it, slips in with it. But that's all done at high pace because I want reactions from them. I will usually do a program. So because we got no fights coming up and that, I've been running programs up to 6 weeks. So we'll pick a certain shot and we'll stick to it. The only shot we continuously use. So when I start pads, I do 4 rounds of jabs. We don't do anything else. We just jab, 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 move, jab, slip, jab, block, jab. We do 3 jabs in a row, 2 jabs. We jab on the back foot, we jab on the front foot. And that's all we do for 4 rounds. And then after that, there'll be certain punches that we'll be working. So a couple of months ago, I was working lead hook, roll, rear hook, roll, body shot, roll, body shot. So it wasn't so much about the shots for me. It was about them rotating their body and getting used to rotating their body before they took a shot. And that's what that whole program was about. And then I'll do other programs where we'll work. So when someone jabs, we'll work over and under it. So we've got a hook and an uppercut, so we'll work a program around that. But the one shot that's always used in every program we do is the jab. Every time we do anything. So we at the moment we're working on rolls and slips and stuff. So every bit of pad work and everything we do is always around rolls and slips. So what they're learning on the ropes and what they're learning through their drills, they're reproducing it on their pads. You've left me. Hello. Has he died on me? It's gone. Cheers, everybody. If you can hear me.
We're back. BT interval there.
That's all right. I had a little light refreshment.
Thank you very much for that. So we were talking, sorry. You were
No worries.
finishing up. You were finishing up what you're saying there.
Yeah, so we've been rehearsing a lot of rolls and stuff, and then I integrated into the pad work.
Okay.
Yeah, so
fantastic.
Pad work for me is it's about. I don't knock the fast pads because I do them myself, but I use them. There's a purpose for them, and most of my pad work you get, I see people going bang, bang, really loading up, really whacking. What go and do that on a bag. For me, the pads is more. It's about learning technique, not
Beautiful.
about killing your coach.
Okay, is Andy Gill looking for any more pro fighters?
No. No, simple as that. I have got all homegrown pros. I've got 4 of them, and I've got a mate of mine, Gary Dawson. He's got a pro called John the Don. He's coming to his end of his career. He's a lovely, lovely man. He's got a couple of years left in him yet, and he wants to go. He wants to go out in style. So he's come to me for strength and conditioning, and to do, to sharpen his jab up. And he's old school. He wants to go to war every single time. So I'm just gonna. It's a bit late to change him, but I'm just gonna try and sharpen his jab up a little bit. Yeah, just sharpen him up, and hopefully he'll take it to the ring.
Oh, okay. So pro fighters that were probably listening to you, who may have been interested in getting to know you and getting to know you as a trainer.
They can come. Look, I've got a telephone number. I'm on Instagram. If a pro comes along and he or she, and for me, it's all about attitude. If you're willing to give me 110%, I'll give you 150%. I'll go beyond. But the problem with the pro world is everybody wants to be a pro, but they don't realize how hard the game is. They just think, I want to go pro. I want to go pro. Well, let's go pro for a purpose. Let's go pro because you want to be a Southern Area champion, or an English or a British champion, or a European or a Commonwealth, or you want to head at a world title. Let's go pro because that's what you want out of it. Not you just want to, big yourself up, go and have a fight, and then you get annihilated because you're too busy in your own hype. So
absolutely.
if people are listening, boxers out there are listening, male or female, and you want to get to know me, or you're thinking about turning pro and you want a bit of advice, by all means, pick the phone up, ring me up, and I'm more than willing to spread the little bit of knowledge I got. And the other thing I like to say out there is, if mental health is a big thing, and I know people jump on the bandwagon, but anybody out there who's suffering, who's listening to this, if you want to contact me, if you need to talk, don't hesitate. All right, do it, and I will listen. I'll try and advise you, but I'm here for you. All right, so please don't do it alone. Phone me, and there's plenty of people around that are willing to help.
Beautiful stuff, Andy. That was fantastic. I think the next, this is boxing. This is my boxing, Andy Gill. I think the next one should be "Want to be a pro." I think should be the next title. "Want to be a pro," and you could talk us through the pro game. Want to do that one next in the series?
Maybe we get one of the boys to join us.
Yeah, that sounds good. We'll do.
Yeah, because you can get both views then. Yeah, no problem at all.
Absolutely. Andy Gill, for those people who finally want to make contact with you, how do they find you on social media?
Social media, I'm on, if you're a pro and you want to hook up with me, go on to Evolve Elite 2019 on Instagram. And
okay, hold on. Let's do that for you. Let's get that on the actual, so people can, let me do that on the banner. Let's do this for you, just for you, Andy.
Thank you.
That's this. So it's the blue, right?
Yeah.
Right. So let's make sure that people can see that, because I know people probably watch this on the replay. And let's get a banner out. So what it is, it's Evolve.
Evolve Elite 2019. That's the pro boxing side.
Evolve Elite. Is that Evolve Elite
2019.
2019, yes.
Yeah. So, yeah, all one word. And that's on Instagram. And on there will be my email and phone number. And then if you're interested in being an amateur, obviously when we get going, it's evolve_boxing_academy.
I got about academy, right?
Yeah, I hope so, because I definitely can't spell it.
Let's get that. Let's put that there. Let's get that. Is that the one?
That's it.
Let's get that at the bottom. Let's get that. Let's get it on the ticker, shall we? Should have a ticker. Let me see something here. Come on, you should go on the ticker. I don't know why it's not on the ticker. Yeah, it's just doing a check for me. There we go.
Lovely. Thank you.
No, that's it, Andy. Fantastic. Thank you for being on the show. Really appreciate it. It was really great talking to you. I hope you've enjoyed yourself on the show.
It's good to catch up. It's always good to catch up.
It is, absolutely. Andy Gill, thank you once again. And by the way, what do you think of seeing your mug on our promotional intros?
I was blown away. my moment of fame is probably the only time that I'm going to get on the screen, mate.
Well, okay. We're going to close with it. I hope you enjoy it.
Lovely.